ghosties and ghoulies, and welcome to Flophouse Slays tier list this time. We're kicking off this month with a special one, Darkstalkers characters, which never really leave my mind, nor should they yours. You should always be thinking about a Darkstalker or multiple Darkstalker characters at any given time. So I thought it'd be fun for Halloween to do this. We have, starting at the very tippity top, the ultimate savior. I think 1 to max 3 characters might make it in here. And then true Lords of the Night, definitely roomier in this one. Then we have Mighty Monster. This is, above average. Lowly Goblin, bottom feeding Fiend, and then no, just no. So, again, with Darkstalkers, at least always somewhat popular with everyone. It's a series I hold near and dear to my heart. Love all the characters, love all the lore. I hope to play one of them someday. One day I'll just boot one up and be like, oh yeah, Darkstalkers. I don't know if Capcom will ever resurrect this series, but hey, hopefully this video will push them. Capcom are doing crazy shit nowadays, so who knows? It might be possible. They constantly need fan feedback. Every time there's a Capcom survey or whatever, always just write Darkstalkers in. It doesn't matter if it's fighting game related or not. They're like, hey, what do you think about this Resident Evil thing? Just write Darkstalkers, okay? And thankfully that Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster has every single Darkstalkers character as a costume, so that's something, doing what Darkstalkers do, which is being other Capcom games as costumes. But we're starting off very strong with Dmitry Maximov. Now, this is going to be my personal feelings for the character, their visual design, mostly their character, their biography, stuff like that. It's not a tier list in terms of where they stack up gameplay wise. I need to go through all the Darkstalker games, and who really cares about my opinion on whether they're balanced or not in gameplay? So my immediate thing is to put in Dmitry into Ultimate Savior, but as cool as he is, there's something about Dmitry where he just lacks a tiny bit of juice. Slayer kind of has it almost, where Slayer just has a bit more riz, just a bit more personality than Dmitry. I love playing as Dmitry, and I think his design is strong, but he comes off as a slightly more generic evil. He has some, pomp and circumstance to him, but my immediate reaction is to put him into true Lord of the Night. I might change my mind as we go through this, but right now that's my immediate reaction. I'd love to put him higher, but this is what I'm feeling right now. Next we have Anna Karis. I'm a big Mummy fan. The Mummy's alive. All of the Mummy movies. There's something about mummies that are truly special. I think just because how crazy his special moves are, how wild Capcom went with his special moves, and he's not just wrapping you up with his wrappings, he is doing stuff that mummies shouldn't even be doing. It makes no sense. I would definitely put him higher than Mighty Monster. I think they went really hard with him versus Dmitry, whose moveset and what he can do in a match is a little bit more limited and a little bit less creative. So that's where I'm feeling right now for Anna Karis, or Anakaris if you're nasty. After that, we have Bishamon. Bishamon's a weird one because they do kind of think he's almost in the same area as Dmitry, where he does have a bit more interesting of backstory, where he was kind of like a regular samurai and due to circumstance wound up putting on this cursed armor, and therefore he's this zombie samurai. Not inherently evil when he started out, but very kind of evil now. I think Mighty Monster for him. I love his design. He's got this demonic face on his titties and stuff. But yeah, there's something where I'm just kind of not fully there with him. There's again something slightly missing with Bishamon for me. So. And I don't think, again, they went as crazy with like they do with Anna Karis. And I love vampires in general, especially in fighting games. Love the Vampire Diaries. I mean, who doesn't? But yeah, that's why I'd place Dmitry above him. But right now, Mighty Monster for Bishamon. Still very cool, but just not quite there for me. Felicia, listen. Felicia really helped me along in my teenage years, in my developmental period. So, definitely true Lord of the Night, the ultimate savior. I like how Dimitri. I like how Felicia truly represents a hero in this universe. Like, she's one of the few like chaotic good characters, or like actually fully good characters. She has so much personality. They give her whole Broadway leanings, I guess. She just wants to be a Broadway star, but of course has to fight in Darkstalkers battles all the time. Her turning to the cat, and multiple pieces of Felicia merchandise. I don't think she's quite there at Ultimate Savior. I just don't quite think she's there yet, though. But she's in every single game. She's always fun to play. She's always just quite good in general. My feeling on that might be inaccurate. Ask Kyle Wimquote on that. But yeah, I think true Lord of the Night. Because while her moveset isn't like crazy, it just, Catwoman is not exactly what you'd think of when you think of horror tropes to put in a fighting game, when that was the whole point. And I think it gets like originality points for that. It's interesting. So I always love Felicia. I don't exactly feel like she super duper belongs in Darkstalkers, you know what I mean? Just because she just spreads joy wherever she goes, and that's not, you can't say that about a whole lot of Darkstalkers characters. But I'm still feeling true Lord of the Night. Sasquatch, I've always been two ways about Sasquatch. I love that Canada gets one of its very rare W's with actually having a Canadian fighter. They're very, very rare. But I've never been super into Sasquatch. They did do something a bit different with him, but I was kind of always hoping he would be a bit more intimidating. Doesn't need to be Dimitri levels, but he's so cuddly and not that intimidating to me. And I kind of feel that slot's already sort of taken by Felicia, and to a lesser extent Raptor. So I kind of feel like a lowly goblin. And I feel bad. He's just trying to save his village, but holding a whole village of the Sasquatches also makes him less unique. Like, I like the idea of the Sasquatch being the last of his kind, or something like that. He doesn't really get that. They went in a different direction. I'm just saying that they didn't go in that direction where I was. I wasn't really there. You equate Sasquatch with like Bigfoot and Wendigos and stuff like that, and it's just like, he's just such a cute and cuddly version of that, and that's not exactly what I wanted in the character. He's still good for what he is. He's still appealing for what he is there, but I've always thought he's kind of on the lower end for me personally. Don't come at me, Sasquatch fans. Talbane, listen, Talbane. Talbane has way more sauce than they ever needed to. They could have just done werewolf. That's it. He slashes at you with slashy paw claws, and that's it. But they're like, no, fuck that. Martial artist werewolf. Oh, what do you mean, like martial artist? Like he's gonna do a few like rekkas, or I don't know, do like a roundhouse kick? No, nunchucks. What? Nunchucks. And he can also turn into a ball and fly all over the screen. And he can shoot a fire dragon. So Talbane, easy John Talbane, put some respect on his name, is kind of an easy ultimate savior for me. Werewolf, incredibly important in any fighting game, and along with Saberwolf, like he's like, those are my two tops. There's only that many in fighting games, obviously, but Talbane and Saberwolf absolutely up there. And John is easy for me. I also like playing as him quite a bit, even if he's not that great, and depending on what game. I just think his moveset is just extremely, I don't know, satisfying to use. It just looks cool. He has a lot of options, a lot of mobility. His animations are great. So yeah, Talbane. Plus, as a human, super hot, this dude. Like, wow, look at this guy, right? So, that's some extra points for Talbane. So I'm pretty happy with that. Victor, I think Victor's definitely a mighty monster. Now, of course, Victor's out of like any of the characters, out of Felicia, out of Morgan, out of any of the females, out of any of the entire cast, Victor's got the fucking cake. Like, absolutely, he's working that 24/7, and it's all of his moveset. There's still something in his personality where I'm kind of just like, I'd like a little bit more on his backstory, and I don't find it like super duper interesting. But Frankenstein's monsters have never been my favorite horror trope. Like, they're high up there, but I think that's why Victor's is where he is. I also find like playing as him is just kind of awkward. Like he's got some cool moves for sure, and his animations are top notch, but yeah, Mighty Monster for me. I could see me moving him up to True Lord of the Night, but tonight I don't think that'll happen, so sorry, Victor. Riku, Owlbath, whichever you prefer. Merman, I personally love like just like Creature from the Black Lagoon, so saying he's like, okay, going from the cartoon where he's from Atlantis, that I don't like. So I don't think in the Darkstalkers games he's supposed to be from Atlantis. He's just a strangely attractive fish man that just lives in water, be it in Brazil or some other water source throughout the world. I don't think he's supposed to be from Atlantis, which I don't like that bit. So I'm just sticking with the games for now, so I can't hold that against him. I think possibly True Lord of the Night. Because Creature from the Black Lagoon, or, you know, Amphibian Fishman, whatever you want to say, is an underrated horror icon. Like, I think they need more love. I really wish there'd be, like, a new, really cool Creature from the Black Lagoon movie. I think Guillermo del Toro was supposed to make one at some point. You might need to fact check me on that. But yeah, I'm feeling good right now about Riku being in True Lord of the Night. And his video game version, much better than the cartoon. That should go for all of them, actually. Shouldn't even make that as a point. That should just be default. You should just know that. But yeah, as much as I like Scott McNeil voice acting, I don't think he quite nailed it for Riku. So True Lord of the Night, he turns into a frog, he spits poison, he shoots tidal waves. It's everything you could want. Raptor, ooh, Raptor, definite True Lord of the Night. Raptor, he's. I think I'll keep him Ultimate Savior, actually. Yeah, like that's what I'm saying between like Dimitri and Raptor, or say like Anacharis. It's just Raptor just got so much of the sauce, like turning into chainsaws, turning into all types of weapons as a British rocker. Like there's so much there that they put in. If you ever looked up how Capcom designed the Darkstalkers characters, they went through so many iterations, so many bad iterations, and they had to work with Capcom USA because they're doing so many like Western horror tropes that maybe some of the nuances there were lost. They had to go back and forth. No, that's not quite right. Let's move in this direction, blah, 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 blah. And they like killed it with Raptor, where he's a zombie, but if it was just a zombie, right? Like just a plain-clothed civilian, that's just a decomposing zombie. How lame would that be? So they went to ham. They went to town on this guy, and he's better off for it. Like Ultimate Savior, I think that's pretty easy for Lord Raptor. Or Zabel. Again, if you're feeling nasty. Morgan, I mean, what was I supposed to do? You tell me what to do. You lower than that? No, you just can't. You just can't. Even if you take away memes from her sprite, that's just that doesn't do anything. Even if you do that, it's like, no, she became so iconic, so emblematic of the series. She was just on the cover art. She was always on the cover art, I think, depending on the version, I think. Capcom knew. They're like, we fucking cooked with this fucking character. They knew what they were doing. So Morgan, even though I find gameplay wise, she's not that interesting. I mean, she's just as interesting as say like Dimitri. She just has a projectile, a dragon punch, some sort of horizontal moving move. They do some fun things with her, obviously, like when she turns into the drill and etc. etc. But yeah, you can't with a character so iconic. She can't be any lower than that. So Ultimate Savior she be, and she shall remain. Xianko. Definitely a trope that, like, I, as a kid, I was like, I have no idea what this character is. But, like, Chinese ghosts, okay, sure, I'll accept whatever she does here. She's turning into, like, giant blades and swinging maces and all this crazy crap. And it's, again, even though this type of character, I'm like, yeah, I don't really know anything about them. Unlike, a werewolf or a zombie or a vampire, you can't just deny everything that she is and that she offers. So, True Lord of the Night, for sure, for her. I'd like to, what didn't she come? Was she in like Marvel? She was in Marvel 3, yeah. And I thought that, wow, cool. Finally getting some respect there, because like an underrated character for sure. She's also one of the other few good characters, so that's always a plus. I mean, good characters so far. Talbane, yeah, I think so. Sasquatch, Felicia, Riku. I think Riku's kind of like neutral, maybe. Like, just wants to go in for himself, doesn't really care that much about fighting evil. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. And Shinko is definitely one there as well. So, true Lord of the Night. Donovan, I just think Donovan just is not giving me as much as he could. Just this stoic sort of monk-like character. I love his moveset. I love the fact that he's got like these stands, these like ancient gods are giving him his power. I think his design is overall pretty good. But in everything I've seen him in, and everything in his animations and his backstory, he's just a little simple. Like, he's even a bit drier than, say, Ryu and such. And when a character is supposed to be like half Darkstalker and half human, I don't know, you just expect a little more out of them. And just personality-wise, he's not really giving me what I need to put him any higher than that. I think Mighty Monster. As a kid, when Night Warriors came out, the second one, I was like into him. I was like, oh, that dude looks so cool. And he was featured very prominently on the promotional material. But in the subsequent years, I'm kind of like, yeah, you know, Donovan's all right. I mean, his sword is sick. Really sick things about him, but there's just something holding him back. I don't know quite what it is yet, but I think Mighty Monster for him. And again, these aren't bad at all. You know, obviously, they're above average for sure. So don't take that as a slight against Mr. Bane here. Valletta, BB Hood, this is a difficult one. Yeah, no. Yeah, I think that's fine. When I first saw BB Hood in like magazines and stuff, I was like, what the fuck? I don't even understand. I just saw the screenshots where she was just being a cutesy Red Riding Hood, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool, like that great NES game, right? And then we see the screenshots of her using like high-powered artillery and Uzis and rocket launchers and shit. I'm like, oh, okay, she's kind of like a monster hunter too. Red Riding Hood fights back. And then just everything about her expressions when she's being sweet and then just turns into a complete psychopath. That's all great stuff. Very interesting character to bring in there. Not necessarily one you'd expect, but still very, very cool. And it's since become, you know, fairly iconic in her own right. Like when you're talking about Darkstalkers 3 or Vampire Savior, whatever, whichever it was called in Japan, she's definitely in the conversation as being like, you know, one of the main characters of that. Speaking of which, Jeddah. I'm a little cool on Jeddah. When you just say this is our demon character, I want him to be even crazier. I want him to look like Blackheart or something. And I still cool. Again, don't get me wrong, but Jeddah I've never been super into. I'm just like, yeah, no, that's fine. That's what a demonic character would look like. Certainly has some unique attacks, like signing your contract for your soul and all that. There's good stuff there for sure. Throwing out the whirling blades, I kind of feel like Raptor has that a bit more. His color scheme is also pretty close to Raptor as well, and I was kind of like visually, that's kind of like, I wish they went a different direction there. But still, you know, very solid monster design in general. So I don't think I can put him any lower than Mighty Monster. And if I do, like, he's gonna drag me down to hell. He would not be having that shit. Lilith. Listen, I know Lilith has her fans. That's a lowly goblin for me. It's not really her fault. I just don't like clone characters all that much. I always kind of just go, yeah, it's a clone character. Like, I feel the same way about DeCapre. I feel like the same way for many characters in that sort of ilk. There's a couple of Mortal Kombat ninjas where I'm like, Tremor, and you know. It's mainly because it's like Morgan became so iconic and Lilith is trying to piggyback off her a little bit. I always got that kind of vibe, and Lilith's aesthetic is kind of a little weird to me sometimes, so I think she's gonna be there kind of hanging out. I think these are two great hangout pals. She could be playing with Sasquatch in the snow, and that's great, Lilith. You have fun there. I'm happy for you. I absolutely know there's some people like, are you serious, Lilith? I'm like, yeah, sorry, just not a character for me at all. QB, I actually like quite a bit. Yeah, Mighty Monster, though. I don't think quite up to the level of like Felicia or Shinko. QB, I think, it doesn't quite hit your brain right away, where you go, oh, it's sort of like a 50s monster drive-in movie, like the Thing, like Them, or giant insect movies, and then giant women, and then insects, but like get, you know, The Fly sort of deal. And like that's really interesting. I never would have thought they would have done something like that. So like weird insect girl that has like this big wasp butt, like, yeah, sign me up. Like such a better version that QB is, like, compared to like Devora, you know, like QB over Devora every day. I think most people can agree with that. Very cool addition into Darkstalkers 3. I do kind of feel like, since it's not a pick you'd expect, there was like one or two sort of horror tropes, or, you know, fantasy horror tropes that I would have liked to have seen. I remember at the time being not all about her, just being like, no, okay, that's kind of weird. But ever since then, I've grown to like her quite a bit. So QB, an absolute queen. Anita, I don't think this needs to be said. Anita's the ultimate savior. She's so cool. She's like more badass than everybody combined. So yeah, I don't. Yeah, no. I think Nita's a true Lord of the Night. Cooler than Donovan a little bit. There's just something about, like, this is a pixel art that I found, but there's something about her official Capcom artworks where like her expression is just so stone cold. So like the eyes of someone that's lost everything, but is like has this immense power behind them. I think her paired up with Donovan is better than just Donovan by himself, obviously. So I think that's a great duo. But even though she doesn't really affect gameplay all that much, but yeah, I think Anita's really cool. If there was ever a future Darkstalkers game, I would love like a grown-up Anita who's like this crazy magic user, or like psychic girl, or something like Carrie, you know, like that's kind of a horror trope, like a girl with psychic powers, right? So I think Anita is absolutely fantastic, almost GOAT level, but not quite. I mean, because it's a werewolf, a zombie, and a succubus, you know, it's hard to compete. So D, for those, there might be some of you that don't know this, D is a special character that was in the Japanese version of Vampire Savior 2 or 3, Lord of Savior, vampire, whatever. There was a special character that was basically a what if character of what if Donovan went to the dark side, and he's a bit older. So he's basically Donovan's head and his long braid, but Dimitri's body, and it has moves from both of them. And it's cool because since they're a vampire hunter, they just called them D, and D, of course, being short for Donovan. So that's kind of cute. He's still a clone character at the end of the day, but it's cool that they kind of at least thought like, well, this is what happens if this character turned evil, versus this is Lilith, and Lilith is the good part of the soul of Morgan. I don't know. Actually, yeah. If I said the same about clone characters, I don't think. And I think Lilith has grown to be a bit more interesting than just the clone character. Whereas like D didn't really get much at all after that. But it's still a neat what if style character, so I can't really take that away from him. I would have loved this for him to have his 100% own sprite and get added somewhere along the lines and have his own completely unique moves, but they obviously did not do that. But yeah, I think that's fair. They'd be playing in the snow and he'd just kind of be off into the corner doing nothing, I guess. Tizzle, Phobos, about just Phobos. When I kind of realized, oh, there's like a crazy robot gone mad sort of, not horror trope, but, you know, at least like fantasy trope being added into Darkstalkers. Because when I'd go through like Game Fans or EGMs, like I'd go through all the artwork, and then it got to the page for the bosses, I'd be like, wow, that's a crazy design. Like Aztec robot guardian sent to protect Earth. It's definitely like a weirder one, but that's Darkstalkers MO, right? Like I was always thinking they'd do like a clanky 1950s, 60s sci-fi robot, or, you know, something like Mechagodzilla. And they definitely went weirder with it. It's certainly a unique design. I don't think it's quite for me, but I don't think it's quite Lily Goblin. So I'd keep Phobos in Mighty Monster. I also don't like when it's just one of many. There's many of these robot types, and that just kind of makes them a little less special in my eyes. It's always cooler when they're more unique. The last one that was ever made that's still functioning at least would make it cool, but it seems like there's like multiple of them, I think. Again, I don't know if that stays true in the games or that's just a thing from the anime. And you know what? I just realized these robots never showed up in the USA cartoon. Phobos never did, huh? I think that may be the only character that didn't make it in from the original lineup, so that's crazy and lame, huh? Damn. Man, that cartoon sucks. Pyron! Ah, my goat! My goat! Pyron's so cool. The game version, obviously. I just like, evil cosmic beings, Galactus types, and I really like what Udon did in their comics where they presented Pyron's backstory where he was on his world, a hellstorm, and he was a gladiator and he just kept winning and winning and winning, and every time he'd win he like absorbed his enemies and he got so big he just became a Galactus and engulfed his entire home planet and just searches the stars for tasty meals. Again, very Galactus-like, but his design is so sick. I really hope he comes back as like a end boss or something in like a Marvel game or a Capcom game, whatever, or a future Darkstalkers game. That'd be nice. But now it seems it's like you're going to get a Marvel game before you ever get a Darkstalkers game again. But I think he's just a really cool end boss. All the special attacks, his animations, like everything about him just screams money, Done a disservice in the cartoon and gets barely anything in the anime. But still, though, that doesn't besmirch his legacy too much. So yeah, Pyron's my boy. He's up there and he's like, yeah, Lula, I'm very happy with these 4, right? What I'm less happy with is Terramon, Pyron's lame brother, who's supposed to be bigger and more powerful, yet he looks far dorkier. Like, he doesn't have like just the blazing blank eyes, and he doesn't have the no mouth, so he just looks like a random cartoon baddie. I'm including him because I needed some characters put in the lower ranks, because most Darkstalker characters are awesome. So he's a bottom feeding fiend. Never mind the fact that I already have another picture of Terramon here. I inadvertently put in 2 into fucking tier maker. Tier maker's so clunky nowadays that I can't take him out now. Anyway, so I think this is pretty easy. He barely does anything in the cartoon, but he does talk a good talk, but he tries eating multiple people, never really works out because everyone's like, no, you need to put the salt on him first. And he's like, oh yes, and he just gets distracted. You never really see him fight. It would have been cool to see like how powerful he really was, but I don't even think that would really save this. Just Pyron's older brother showing up is just the most USA cartoon thing they could have done with him. So speaking of the cartoon, we have Harry Grimoire. This is an automatic no. This is the only reason why I have the no section here. Super lame. Anytime you put a kid character for kids at home to go, oh yeah, that's like me. No one wants to be Harry Grimoire. Nobody. This fucking Harry Potter looking motherfucker. I think that Harry Potter was stolen off him. He's a wizard. So that's kind of why I even want to discuss this kid. But because one thing, if you really notice that Darkstalkers is missing is a traditional magic user. I mean, you could kind of say that maybe Donovan's using magic, but I don't think so. I mean like a wizard type with like a staff and casting spells, like almost like, what's his face? Xavier in Eternal Champions. Like, witch, warlock, wizard, something like that. And they don't really have a character, I feel, that like really hammers that home 100%. So the fact that the wizard type was kind of wasted on this kid who never really does anything other than like float and maybe shoot a beam once or twice, but he's just like a nerd. Like, he uses computer powers more. You can't just put a nerd into Darkstalkers and be like, oh, he'll compute his way out of it. He'll download their moves. I don't know, but it is such a waste of an idea. Like, if they somehow had made him maybe a bit older, like a teenager, like 15, 16, and he grows to be like a super powerful magic user, like maybe, but they never even got that fucking far in the show. So Harry Gilmore really sucks really hard. I think we can all agree on that. But I would maintain it would still be cool in a future Darkstalkers game that there is like a wizard magic user, something like that, sorcerer, warlock, etc. Because yeah, I definitely think out of everyone, that's something I always felt was missing from Darkstalkers. I know it's not expressly horror related, but then again, some of these aren't so much. So I think that's my pitch. I hope I was able to sell you on a magic user in Darkstalkers. And I kind of feel sad actually looking at this. I was like, there's more Darkstalkers characters than this, right? No, that's it. I'm stretching it with the fucking 2 cartoon exclusive characters. There's a couple you could say that at least have some things. Like we have Sinko's sister, we have Victor's creator, but they're just background characters that don't really do anything. But this does make me sad because it's like there should be at least 10 more Darkstalkers characters, like 10 brand new ones we should have seen in a game like 5-10 years ago, but it's not to be. And I don't think enough fervor was made from the Capcom Fighting Collection 1 with all the Darkstalkers games, that like not the fervor that Marvel has. So unfortunately, I don't think we're gonna see it anytime soon because they wanna go on what's hot and stuff, and Street Fighter of course. But yeah, that's my Darkstalkers tier list. Please use the comments below to tell me how wrong I am and how badly you disagree with this. That's fine, it's a tier list. But if you like tier lists, I do have some good news. I'm gonna be doing 2 more during the month of October. First up, we have Grunkle Derek, who will be helping me rank all the Castlevania games. That one's going to be epic. We spent a while and went through the entire list of Castlevania's history, so be on the lookout for that. And then I'll be teaming up with Autumn Ivy to rank all the Silent Hill games, which was absolutely a treat to do. She's always a blast. Make sure to check out that video I did playing a game that she starred in voice-wise, Stay Out of the House. I did that about 2 years ago, and that was a great time. So be on the lookout for those 2 later in the month. Lots more October festivities to get into, and I hope you enjoy it all on Flophouse Slays.